Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me know when we can start, Wendell.
Time is now 5 o'clock. Madam Chair, you may begin the meeting.
Thank you, Wendell. Oh, what happened? You won't believe this.
Am I in the wrong meeting?
Okay, are we back? Wendell?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting. And on the agenda today, well, yes, I guess first, I'd like to say I'm the chairperson, Councilwoman Zanthia Oliver. And if it's any other chair members, could you please introduce yourself, please?
Linda Gray, First District.
Michelle Harley, 4th District.
Brigida Fields, 5th District.
Nathan Field, 8th District.
And I think we had the
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, today on the agenda, we have a presentation on I-95 corridor project, and we have Ordinance 21001 that will be presented. Do we have someone here that will be doing the presentation for the I-95? Do we have someone here that will be doing a presentation on I-95 project?
Yes,
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. It seemed like my CR is muted or something, but he's speaking, but we cannot hear him.
Okay, we can hear you over here. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but at CR, we cannot hear CR.
It looks like CR does not have his audio connected.
Right.
There you go.
Oh, trying again. Does that sound better?
Yes.
As often as we're doing this, it's
And still hard to get used to. Okay, are we ready?
yes.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself and whoever else is going to speak and, begin?
Well, certainly. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm C.R. McLeod. I'm the Director of Community Relations for DelDOT. And joining me is my colleague, Percy McNeil. He is one of our project engineers on this project also, and is a wealth of information. He's been involved in this project since its inception several years ago when we began planning for the rehabilitation of the I-95 corridor. So I'm hoping that between the two of us, we can provide you with a brief presentation that we'll walk through. There's a lot of information in here that we'll go through, and please let us know if you have any questions. We're really focusing on the first phase of this project, which will be getting underway here in just 2 weeks' time as we get the lanes shifted on 95 so that construction can begin. And we'll focus on really what's going to be happening over the course of 2021. And we'll be glad to answer your questions as best we can and go from there.
Okay, thank you. And I asked everyone, could we please hold our questions after he finishes with his presentation? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And someone is running the slide, so I'll just say next. Thank you very much. I'll just say next slide when we're ready to move on. And again, we're just some background that we are working to really do some much needed maintenance on I-95 through the city of Wilmington. As we all know, this was built in the 60s, and we're getting to the point where we're really needing to do some very intensive repairs to really avoid any more costly repairs as this infrastructure ages in the years to come. So we really want to make sure that it's as safe as possible, make some safety improvements, and also we're already made some improvements to lessen the traffic congestion that we do experience during peak times. And again, what we're really trying to get going here, we're already starting to see some traffic impacts with the preliminary traffic shifts that are going to be happening. Mostly have been occurring at night, really so far this month, but beginning this weekend, we are going to begin to see that shift in traffic, and that's when it's going to really become noticeable that there's going to be some delays experienced as we begin reducing lane capacity on 95. And the overall total construction time for this nearly $200 million project is 3 years. However, we are really determined to get the part of the project done that's going to have the most traffic impact done in the next 2 years' time. So next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the project. It's a very big area that we're going to be working on. So from the south, if we look down to where the project will be beginning, just south of the Christina River, and will extend all the way to the north side of the Brandywine River Bridge. So we've got a large area that's going to be part of this project over the next couple of years. Next slide, please. We're going to be rehabilitating 19 bridges, replacing over 3 miles of pavement, and also reconstructing 11 exit and entrance ramps, as well as making some modifications on the Brandywine River Bridge. And we've also been already completing several advanced projects, which I'm sure some of you are all familiar with. Next slide, we completed the new 2nd Street ramp over Lancaster Avenue at the end of the year. That ramp opened on New Year's Eve, so we were glad to get that ramp opened, and that ramp will remain open throughout the duration of the project. We've already been doing some work underneath of the I-95 viaduct and have been installing some of the new sign structures. So again, trying to get as much work done that we could in advance of the larger work, and that really helps with our overall goal of limiting the amount of time that we're going to have to really restrict traffic on 95. Next slide, please. So just in terms of the construction phasing that everyone can expect, we are going to be instituting a number of changes that will be disruptive to traffic coming into the city of Wilmington. And if we go to the next slide, we can demonstrate what we're going to be seeing. So obviously we want to make sure it's a safe work zone, not just for the workers, but also for the residents that live close to the highway. And we're going to be ensuring that we are keeping access to the city. We've been really pushing back on this thought that there's going to be limited access to the city. We've done our best to really make sure that there are good detour routes for residents to get around who do rely on 95. For those that come into the city on a daily basis, we want to make sure that people can still get into the city and move around the city as efficiently as possible. So in the first phase of the work, and what we'll see here, what we'll focus on today is really we're going to be reducing I-95 by 1 lane in each direction and implementing a contraflow pattern. And some of the ensuing slides here will show that. And what really will result, and we'll go to the next slide, is we're going to have the northbound roadway closed. And this is just an example of what it will look like at the southern end. And if we go to the next slide, it's actually a better representation of what you'll see here by Judy Johnson Field. You'll see here in the orange that the northbound roadway will be closed and will be under construction during this first phase of work getting underway in March. And what anyone traveling on 95 will experience is 2-lane traffic coming into the city on the southbound roadway. So you'll see here in green, we've got 2 lanes dedicated for northbound traffic and 2 lanes in purple dedicated for southbound traffic. That will be separated by a concrete barrier for safety. However, it will be an adjustment getting used to that new traffic pattern once that goes into effect. And that's what we're going to be working on setting up here over the next 2 weekends. Next slide, please. And one of the biggest changes that's going to be really for anyone coming into the city, in and out of the city on a regular basis, is the exit 6 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard exit will be closing as we know it for this part of the construction. And right at the top here in the green box of this screen, you'll notice that we are actually going to be flipping the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard on-ramp to I-95 southbound to an off-ramp for I-95 northbound. That's really going to be one of the biggest changes that we're going to experience here in the city during this first phase of work. So again, just to reiterate, there will still be access to Martin Luther King Boulevard. You'll just be using a different ramp to get into the city. Next slide. This actually gives a very good overview of what is going to be happening over the next several months in the city of Wilmington. So what you're looking at here is just an overview of really the city corridor in between Martin Luther King Boulevard and Delaware Avenue. The orange that you're seeing on the screen is representing the northbound 95 lanes, which will be closed. And the southbound lanes are represented in purple. And during phase 1 of work, southbound 95 will be reduced in lane capacity. However, the current exit and on ramps to 95 will all remain open. So traveling through the city, getting onto 95, getting off of 95, coming southbound will remain largely the same, except there will be reduced lane capacity. Northbound is where we're going to see the biggest change, as I mentioned, with the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard ramp being shifted onto the temporary ramp. And we're also going to be closing the Delaware Avenue ramp, which is exit 7. That's obviously that's the most heavily used ramp coming into the city for residents, for many of our businesses. And we've been trying to do a lot of outreach just to prepare folks for that, as we know that's going to be a very disruptive closure to not have that ramp available for the city, which means if you're coming into the city, you're going to have to either do 2 things. Take the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard off-ramp from I-95 North, or continue through the city and actually get off at the 202 exit. So that's going to be tough, we know, and that's going to be quite a change for many folks who travel in and out of the city on northbound 95 on a daily basis. Next slide. And just getting here to the north here, we're showing just what the traffic impact will be coming out of the city. Once you cross over the Brandywine River Bridge, the traffic pattern will go back to its normal pattern once you reach the north side of the bridge. However, coming south into the city, right when you get to that 202 interchange is where you will first experience that reduced lane capacity as we prepare for that lane shift as you enter the city. Okay, next slide. These next few slides represent what's going to be happening beginning this weekend in the city. And we had originally planned to do this past weekend. Obviously, we had winter weather impact that, and conveniently, we have more winter weather on the way. However, we are very optimistic that that won't impact the work we've got scheduled for this weekend. And again, northbound 95 won't be affected this weekend. So traveling in the city on northbound 95, no, you're not going to see any differences this weekend, as the work is going to be focused on really making this lane shift in the city. And what you're seeing here is just an example of how we're going to be reducing lane capacity and really moving these lanes over, because we're going to have 2-way traffic on southbound 95. And these slides are just to represent how that work is actually going to happen. And that will largely be taking place during the overnight hours this weekend, which will include restriping. And that's been a big issue as of late. And we were eager to get that new striping down to make the lanes more visible, putting up the new signage for folks to help with getting around. And so folks know which ramps are open and which are not as they're coming in and out of the city. And then also putting that safety barrier in place. Next slide, please. And one thing that we're also sharing, and we'll continue to push this out to residents, and WITN has been a great partner with us already in this work, And we really appreciate all that all the council members are doing to share with your constituents about the work that's happening. Saturday and Sunday night, we are going to have full closures of 95 South at MLK Boulevard. So what you're seeing here on this screen is going to be the detour route for 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. on beginning Saturday night. And then on Sunday night will be a 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. closure. So this is one we really want folks to be aware of, that if they need to head out of the city on Saturday or Sunday night in the overnight hours, there will be a detour which will take you over to South Market Street to Route 13 to 495. So that definitely will be an inconvenience while we are setting up those lanes, these lane restrictions in the overnight hours this weekend. And we'll continue to push this information out over the next few days. Next slide, please. And again, we will have overnight closures on Tuesday and Wednesday night next week. Again, this will be impacting work really in the city as we set up those lane restrictions. So traffic you'll see here in the green on the right-hand side of your screen, 95 southbound will be forced to take Jackson Street, go down Jackson Street and actually go make the loop around on Adams to the new on-ramp to 95 South, just during those overnight hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., those 2 nights. We're going to be doing our best to really capture all traffic north of the city. Again, if there's traffic that's not intended for the city, we want them taking 495. We really want only local traffic using 495 during this to ensure that there's really as little disruption to the community and to the really congestion experienced on the roadway as possible. So again, we'll have message boards in place north of the city and doing our best to really force that traffic to take detour routes so as not to be coming through the city over the course of the next week during the overnight hours. Next slide, please. So what to expect? And I'm just being mindful of my time. I appreciate everyone's patience. I know this is a lot of information to share. And next slide, please. Really, again, what we're going to be doing with this project is doing a lot of needed maintenance to the road surface, to the safety barriers, and there, inevitably is going to be noise associated with this construction. And we really are going to be trying to do our best to manage that noise. We know that's going to be something that is disruptive, as there are a lot of residents very close to the I-95 corridor. However, to complete this work in that 2-year time period, there is going to be nighttime work, and we've worked closely with the city and to ensure that we are, going to be doing this work as efficiently as possible. And again, trying to target where we're doing the most disruptive work and trying not to do that during the overnight hours. However, with trucks and things like that, there is going to be associated noise. So we're very sensitive to that. We're sensitive that dust and debris is also a part of construction. The contractor has a very good game plan in place to manage that, and we'll be monitoring that on a daily basis to ensure that we're not seeing excessive dust or debris issues and that it's being handled appropriately. So we've already been installing these. If you look up, if you're the elevated portions of 95, if you look up, you may actually have already noticed that there's been a shield installed. Again, we want to prevent anyone that may be passing under from having anything fall to the ground below and causing any damage or any harm. So a lot of effort is being taken to do this work as safely and effectively as possible. Next slide, please. One of the things that's obviously on everyone's mind is just how much, how are we going to get around the city during this project? We've worked closely with the city over the past several years to incorporate more than 200 of the city signals that used to be independent of the DelDOT network into the DelDOT network. So now what we can do is we can actually adjust traffic signal timing from our transportation management center just from a computer. And we're hoping that will help us manage, really, as we start to see people using different roads in and around the city, helping to manage traffic flow as best we can. So that's been a big improvement. We've put up a lot of detour signs that you noticed. We're really trying to promote alternate forms of transportation using public transit. We've got a really nice new transportation facility over by the train station now for those that do use our buses. We want to make sure that folks can get in and out of the city as effectively as possible. Next slide, please. And another priority that we've really spent a lot of time focusing on is working with our emergency services. We knew that this project could be disruptive to responding to any type of incident, whether it's a crash on 95 or really responding, there's could be increased traffic on city streets and getting to and from those incidents in and around the city. So we've worked closely with both not only the city emergency responders, but also within the county and the larger area to ensure that we've got a good game plan and playbooks for how do we respond to these incidents and get around with it while there's all this construction going on. So that's something that we've spent a lot of time developing and working closely with our emergency, our emergency response professionals in and around the city to ensure that they understand what the impact is going to be and how that's going to impact their response time. And as we're continuing to do this work and also manage day-to-day life. So we've been working in and around the city, as you know, for the past 2 years to really do a number of improvements. As many of you are aware, we've done a lot of paving and rehab projects around the city, $50 million to be exact, to really just improve city streets, because we know there's going to be more traffic on city streets, and there were many that were in not great condition. So we worked really hard to get a lot of these paving projects done in advance of the 95 project. And that's really one of the key messages here, is that we wanted to get as much construction done around the city before this project starts, so that there is very little construction happening during the 95 project. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we did complete the new ramp from Adams Street and 2nd to 95 South, and then also just making a number of pavement improvements in and around the city. Next slide, please. We also did install 2 temporary basketball courts, because of the temporary, the courts that are on Jackson Street will be disrupted during this work, as there's going to be, we couldn't have the basketball courts open with construction going on overhead. So we have installed 2 new basketball courts there that are now open and are available for use once the project gets going and the temperature gets warmer, especially, though I did see some folks out there the other day playing. And again, looking at other ways that how we can continue to beautify the city, and that's going to be an ongoing effort. Westside Grows has been a great partner in that effort with their 6th Street overpass work. And the Secretary of Transportation actually met with the mayor just the other day about how we can continue to look at replacing fencing and adding new vegetation to really improve the look around the I-95 corridor in the city. Next slide, please. Obviously, I'll just touch on this before I wrap up. But again, we've adjusted our public transportation routes in and around the city. We knew there was going to be some impact, but want to ensure that we're still providing service to the city and points in and around the city as efficiently as possible. That was a big thing that was part of getting the new Wilmington Transportation Center opened and completed, having that transportation hub. And again, there are going to be a few routes that have been impacted. DART has been sharing this information, and those service changes went into effect this past weekend. And again, we want to make sure that folks are still able to get in and out of the city and around the city as effectively as possible, despite the construction. Next slide, please. So we do have a number of resources available that we've continued to share out with the community about how we can get around without using 95 or using a car. There's SEPTA service has been restored south of the city for those that use the local rail service. And again, just continuing to make improvements on DART. We have public Wi-Fi now on our buses, which is free. We think that's a great service. And again, just trying to make it as easy as possible for folks to use public transportation in the city. So next slide. And for those of you who may not have visited yet, we do have a project-specific website for this project, restorethecorridor.com, that we will be updating on a regular, if not daily basis as this project gets underway. We've also have a system for signing up for email and text alerts. Again, we want to make sure that we're providing information about what's happening and when to the community as soon as we possibly can, just so everyone is kept in the loop about what's happening and if there's going to be any adjustments to work on 95 or when we're adjusting our phases and going through different lane shift changes. We want everyone to be aware of that as soon as possible. So again, those text and email alerts are available on the project website. Social media is another avenue we continue to use. So again, encourage folks to follow us on Facebook, Twitter. We also have an email dedicated for this project so for any questions, concerns, info@restorethecorridor.com. We will be checking that, hourly and responding as quickly as possible to any issues that arise with the project. And again, I've provided my email here. I'm available and am happy to, again, work with each of you, the council members. We've done our best to meet with really dozens of communities over the past 2 years to prepare for this project and answer as many questions as we can. However, we know it once the construction starts, there will be more questions that arise. So if you have a community meeting coming up that myself or Percy can join and answer questions, we're happy to do it. We're making ourselves available and we'll continue to do that through the course of the project. And again, we know there's going to be multiple phases of this and we'll make ourselves available to come back and speak to you all whenever it would be helpful to do so about work and provide updates as it's progressing. So on that note, I really appreciate you providing me 25 minutes of your time. Percy and I are here to answer any questions. And again, I know this has been recorded. I can certainly provide this by email. We've also been doing drops I'll hold this up, of the construction guide. We actually been out dropping these in the communities surrounding 95 last week. And I was out earlier today putting these indoors in communities on Jackson Street and Adams Street. Again, just trying to get the information in people's hands. If we can provide more copies to you, I did provide a stack of these to Dan Walker earlier today. So he does have some physical copies if you would like them. And again, please just let us know how we can continue to support you all in communicating about this project to your constituents throughout this project. So on that note, I'll turn it over and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Sierra. I think it's a council member that wants to be recognized and is that your hand, Ms. Fields?
Yes, this is my hand up.
Okay, before I call on you, because I already have you as recognized, is there another? Yeah, can you hear me? Brigida?
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I was just saying I was letting Nathan know he had to go because he had already mentioned he had to go to another meeting, him and Loretta. I was just letting them know they are acknowledged, but I know they said they had to leave to go to another planning meeting. Okay, so I guess I do have a question, but I'm gonna let Brigida, Councilwoman Brigida Fields go first.
Okay.
Brigida, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions. My first question is, do you plan on installing lights under 95 on 4th Street between Adams and Jackson? You know where that underpass is where they walk?
Mm-hmm.
That walkway, do you plan on putting any lights there? Because I see the lights, well, 5th District is my district, so you're going right through me. So I see where you have the lights where the basketball courts are, but you're bright. But I do have my constituents that walk up 4th Street. They may go to the liquor, not the liquor, excuse me, the gas station right there. So I just wanted to know, do you plan on putting lights there?
Percy, I know we do have lighting improvements included in this project, and I'll call on Percy. Percy, are you familiar if we do have lights planned for that location?
Well, it will be in the future contract, which is the subcontract that's coming right after this. I think there is discussion between the city and DelDOT as to exactly what type of lighting and where they will need the lighting. And that agreement is not in place as yet, so it could not be included in this contract, but it will be included in the next contract.
Councilwoman, I've made a note of that, and I will make sure I add that to our list.
Yeah, and not only,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Not only with 4th Street, but we are also looking at the overpass and all those also.
That was my next question, the overpasses as well.
Okay.
So you try to beat me to my questions. So my overpasses.
Well, it's lighting, so.
You try to beat me to it. But even right now, even though that I know that that lighting isn't in the plan for this particular project, is there something temporarily you can put underneath that 4th Street Bridge? Because I mean, if I just drive through there at night, it's dark. I mean, I get the, you know, I'm getting the lighting from the gas. I'm just looking at it as I'm driving. I get the lighting from the gas station. I may get some light from the from Adams 4, but we need a little bit more lighting if possible. Just something temporarily until you can get me something permanent. That would definitely be appreciated.
Yep, I've made a note of it, Councilwoman, and we'll discuss that and let you know.
Okay, and then my last question is, can I have a direct contact with someone? So just in case, once you like you said, once you get the ball rolling, I'm definitely going to have constituents on both sides of 95 reaching out to me at all times of night. So I need to be able to reach either you or Percy all times of night. No, I'm just joking, but I need to be able to have that direct contact with someone when my constituents call me about a question that can't wait a couple of days or you know, in that manner.
Understood. Yeah, and yep, we can certainly provide that.
Thank you very much. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fields. The next hand I see up would be Council Member Gray.
Thank you, Chairwoman. CR, it's good to meet you. This is Linda Gray.
Hi, Councilwoman.
Hi, I just sent you an email and then I heard your voice. I was like, oh, let me run around here and look at them. Okay, so, so should I ask you now, or are you going to just about the Calmers on Miller Road?
Oh yeah, I'll respond to you. Yeah, so that when we finish up the streetscaping work in the spring, the plan is to take them out then.
Oh yeah, send that to me in writing, please.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. But it's pretty dangerous now during the winter with the snow, because the snow hides them and the ice makes them easy to slide into. So unfortunately, we have to wait till the spring. But thank you very much.
Oh, sure thing. We did put some temporary orange tubes in front of them for that very reason. But again, yeah, we agree. We agree.
Thank you.
Is that it? Is that it, Councilwoman Gray?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next hand I see up would be Councilwoman Harley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, CR, I want to thank you for that great presentation. And I also want to ditto what Council Member Fields mentioned as it relates to the lights. One of my comments were going to be that the basketball courts, the lighting around the basketball courts is par excellent. I mean, when you ride down Jackson Street, all the lighting I think is great. When you think about, you know, some of the public safety concerns that we have during this time. So even though the basketball courts will not be up and running for them to be in use, hopefully the lights from the basketball court, if they could remain, that would be great, due to, again, you know, the public safety issue. So it's well lit up. The more lights, the better. So I just wanted to share that. And I think y'all did a great job with the basketball courts. Very good job.
Yeah, they do look nice. And yeah, that's an excellent point. I will inquire about if can we leave those lights on as long as possible until the work gets right in that area.
Great. My next question, Madam Chair, I got like 2 or 3 questions.
Sure.
Real quick.
Yes.
Thank you. Did you mention 16 to 19 bridges will be impacted?
Yes, 19 bridges.
Okay, did you share the name of those bridges in your presentation?
I did not. We can provide you a map. You know, it's not only the overpasses, you know, in the city, you know, the 6th Street Bridge, for example, the Brandywine River Bridge, but also the elevated viaduct structure is considered a bridge. So, but I can certainly provide you a list of which bridges will be impacted by the project.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be helpful. The more information we have about this project to share with our constituents, I think the better. And the marketing plan, now I did hear you mention that you passed out a few flyers here and there, but I would think that y'all would have a strategic marketing plan in terms of getting this information out to the Wilmington residents. So what is that plan? Is there a larger plan?
Well, yes, we are working, and I'm sorry, my computer went into, bear with me for 1 sec. My computer went into the lock mode. Here we go. There, I'm back. Yes, that's an excellent point. We want to make sure that we're having very good communications with the residents around the city throughout this project. And again, the launch using our website is really our front door for the project. We wanted to have a place where that was very easy for anyone to find information. And then again, doing outreach is one of the things we've also been trying to focus our efforts on. So again, working with WITN, who's been fantastic. They've really been a big help for us and have expressed their willingness to continue partnering with us to communicate updates out to the city on a regular basis. Again, working with the mayor's office, and then again working with providing regular updates to each of you so that we know you have a network that you're using, either Facebook or email, that you're providing updates out for. We want to provide you with information that you can just share out on through your networks as easily as possible, and won't require you to do a lot of work. So yes, we are very very much engaged with trying to keep you all informed, and then understanding that you all are important parts of that effort to communicate with constituents in and around the city.
Okay, and thank you for that explanation. I'm always in support of thinking about, when I think about communicating the Wilmington residents, everybody gets a water bill, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets a water bill. So I don't know if DelDOT could get our water bill listing and make sure that maybe, you can at least get one communication out, because everyone, for whatever reason, doesn't have a computer.
Sure.
Everyone is not computer savvy. And if we could at least get a piece of literature in everyone's mailbox that receives a water bill, I think we probably would touch just about everyone in the city. And we can say that we at least sent out one communication to make people aware of it, if you can consider that.
It's a great idea.
And then
Before you go, Councilwoman
Yes.
Hartley, is there a way, seeing that you're on the council, for us to, could you direct us who we could contact to get that list with all the names of the residents?
the city of Wilmington. The city of Wilmington, as it relates to, so this is my suggestion, but of course that's not my lane, but I would recommend that you maybe talk to Brett Taylor, the finance manager. I'm basically referring to all the residents that receive a water bill. So whatever department handles that, and I'm not 100% sure, but I would start with Brett Taylor. He's the director of finance, and I know the water department, some kind of way, they interact somehow. So that could be a starting point. And it's a suggestion, and I'm just saying that as it relates to, I'm very aware that that area is under the mayor's department, under his branch, but it's an opportunity to make sure that we touch as many people as we possibly can that we know receive a water bill. And then when's the effective date? Maybe you said it and I just missed it. When's the effective date for all this to start? That's my last question.
Sure. So the first phase of the work, we're really leading up to that. So this weekend, you're going to start noticing the traffic shifts on 95 southbound. Construction is scheduled to start in early March. So we're very close to getting that initial work started, and with this phase one of work.
Okay. All right.
Let me be more precise. Friday, the disruption will start Friday afternoon, and the construction will start on March the 1st.
Okay. March 1st.
March 1st.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Those are great comments.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Hardy. I appreciate your comments. Is there any other, now, I don't see any other council members' hands up. Ms. Fields, I'm going to come back to you. I have a question. Okay, I have several questions. One of my questions would be, I know we had a meeting before this meeting, and I know y'all had mentioned that you, and I expressed that I have received a piece of literature from you, and you said that y'all had sent out some. I thought that was a nice lit piece, but I respect Councilman Harley about making sure everybody has received it. And I know Councilwoman Gray said she had received it. So as she said, this question is, how is information being communicated to the local community other than the public hearings, and in particular with the senior community and the changes to the bus routes? So how's that information? Like I said, I know I received it and some other people, but how do y'all plan on getting that information out to individuals in reference to the bus routes?
So over the past week, we've actually had DART employees out at a number of at the Wilmington Transit Center, at a number of bus stops in and around the city to share that information, to help communicate that there were changes going into effect. And we'll continue to, again, the areas where we know we have a large senior population, and especially some of the high rises, making sure that we've dropped off brochures and the updated bus schedules as well. So I'll check in with our DART team to make sure that work's been completed, and see if we might be able to continue to do that. But that's a good point. We want to make sure that our seniors understand which routes have changed as a result of this project.
And I know CR, we had discussed some of this, so I'm just repeating it. Sure. Because now we have some other council members on here. I know we may have some individuals, I've seen them out giving out the literature, but I just want to let the public and other council members know that y'all have been getting out information, maybe not as much, and just so they know what some of the work that y'all have been doing. Sure. Another question I have would be, for the influx of the traffic that could be potentially the impact in the city streets, is DelDOT planning on working collectively with the city regarding a future paving as a result of the influx of the traffic and the impact that it will have on some of the inner city streets? So with that financial burden is not solely on the city. Have y'all even thought about that? And I know that's something you would probably be discussing with Commissioner Kelly, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Well, I think that was thought about from the very beginning. What happened is that a survey was made of all the roads that would have major impact. And then we have repairs on probably most, if not all of those. And the decision taken was that after the project, then we would go back into the community. It would have a survey of the roads, and those that are affected would be repaired at the cost of DelDOT, not at the city.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, I'm just wanted to let the council members know you may want to take a ride around in your district tonight or tomorrow, this weekend, so you can see what's going on. So if it's a particular area you start getting a lot of complaints about, as he just stated, as Pavel just stated, when the project is over, if you have some large potholes that you didn't have prior to the project, you want to just write that down. I don't think they're going to tear up all the streets, but where it's going to be heavy traffic, I just wanted to repeat that. One other question I had would be for any changes, the order requests or for a daily project that would be due to the weather and other unplanned items that could push the project timeframe back. Can you please ensure that the Public Works and Transportation Committee is notified of any delays in this project? But you kind of just answered that with saying your email, your update with your email. So I just wrote these questions down last week. So I guess long as you keep the council people or the city of Wilmington, so we can just stay involved. I know Public Works should be putting out some stuff to keep us updated, but if this project and the time frame, you can see where it's going to be delayed, I think we should not be caught off guard and warned in advance.
Absolutely, and if you're willing to have us, we'd be glad to come back quarterly if that makes sense to provide updates. Again, we want to make sure that everyone understands that they're going to see a lot of work. This isn't going to be work starts and then you're going to be wondering what's going on. We want to be very transparent and communicate as much as possible. So we'd be glad to come back on a regular basis to provide updates as the work progresses.
And just as a follow-up question, I know this is a $50 million project. So we would like to know about some of the minority, to make sure some of the minority contractors will be involved with this, or some of our local unions. I know we had this discussion, but I know one of the council members had asked me about it. I told him we had discussed it. So would someone like to elaborate on that subject, please, in reference to some minority contractors or some of the local unions that you don't have to call their names, just to let us know that some people will be involved. Whoever wishes to answer that.
So certainly DelDOT does have a disadvantaged business enterprise office, and they've been very much involved with this. Our contractor understands that there's an expectation that we are taking advantage of local minority-owned businesses, and that's the expectation, that they are using that as much as possible, and we're going to be tracking that. So that's something that they've committed to. That's part of our contract, and we want to make sure that whenever possible, we are using local labor and making sure that we're using those minority-owned businesses as much as possible.
Thank you. Okay, one more question. During the duration of the project, if the vehicle breaks down, and if the police or the fire need to urgently get through to these, will there be significant space? I guess with one of my constituents has sent me this comment. Will there be significant road space to accommodate for, I guess, a fire truck or a police officer to get through if it's a big accident with the climate weather we're looking ahead?
No, that's a very good point. And again, if traffic has to squeeze over, that's going to be the key. And, to allow an emergency vehicle to get by, there will be some room. There won't be a full shoulder, but again, being able to move over enough to allow traffic to get by in an emergency situation, especially. Also, we are contracting with tow companies, especially during peak travel time. So in the morning and in the late afternoon and evening, having them on standby. So if there is unfortunately a car that breaks down or a fender bender, that there is an immediate response. We're not waiting around for someone to come out and help move that vehicle and just causing a huge backup, and making sure that we can get traffic flowing again as quickly as possible. So yes, that's something that we're very mindful of, and again we continuing to push that message too. Is if you do have a minor fender bender, don't just stop in the middle of the traffic. Get off of 95. Get off of 95 and exchange information in a safe place. We don't want you standing out on the roadway, and that definitely would not be a safe situation. So and that's a good point. And again, that's one of the things that we've been trying to manage with working with our emergency responders about how do they respond to incidents and how do we clear those as quickly as possible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And this is my last question.
Sure.
For the signal alert, alerting traffic regarding the closures and the alternate traffic routes, what entrance points are the signal, where would they be located? I mean, I know you may not have all that now, but could you, as you said, you'll be sending over a map. I mean, I guess that would be highlighted. They said, what entry points is the signal located?
For travel time or traffic signals?
Traffic, it says regarding traffic. The signal alerting traffic regarding the closures, I guess the alternate routes, traffic routes. where would the entrance, like, I mean, as I repeated that our last conversation when we had the closure at Al Plant's Bridge, Bud Frill had to, we received so many calls, and Bud Frill had to come out and contact DelDOT for them to put a signal at the end and at the end of each bridge because there was so much traffic on 11th Street and coming over 495. So hopefully, like you said, some of your people have been out to identify that. So we just hope that stays up to par.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of work around the city looking at where we expect the most traffic to come from. And we'll be continuing to make traffic signal adjustments, and we'll be monitoring those. We've got cameras throughout the city that we can access, and the public can access. You can pull those cameras up to see what traffic looks like, and you know, those are things we know. There's going to be some adjustments that need to be made, especially as this project starts and everyone's getting adjusted with the new traffic patterns, et cetera. So that's a very good point. We'll we'll be watching it. We'll take feedback from you all, and again, we'll do what we can to make adjustments as necessary.
Thank you so much. I think we have one more question from Councilwoman Hardy. I see her hand up, and then we see President Mr. Congo, Trippi Congo, Ernest Congo. Michelle, would you like to go?
Sure, real quick, two things. One, you had mentioned, oh gosh, you had mentioned, let me go back to my other question. Yeah, oh, boy, escape me. Oh, yes, the suppliers, your contractors. So did you have a bidding process already to put the bids out there? Did that window close already, or is that something that you're still going to do in terms of diversity and making sure that a number of vendors or suppliers have the opportunity to bid for these jobs? Did that already happen, or is that something to take place?
That already happened. Let me share this with you. This is a federal project.
Okay.
And every federal project, there is a set percentage of what you call DBE goal. In other words, for disadvantaged contractors. What this enables is that, let me say, prior to we getting to this point, the DBE office at DelDOT sent out information to local or registered DBE, and they were able to come in and they had a virtual meeting with the contractor so that they would know what the contractor needed and what they could supply. So that took place some time ago. Also, the contractor, talking to him, made certain that he tried as best as possible to use local union workers wherever possible. So that has been going on from the moment they received this contract, that local workers as much as possible, local DBE as much as possible, and even some of the work is being done by the local bigger contractors. So in other words, it's not only this contractor working, but he has employed, say, for example, you have Eastern Highway that works a whole lot in this area. They are working some of the as subcontractors. So we have a variety of contractors who will be working on this project, and they also employ local workers.
Thank you. And then my last question is there emergency lane or is there not an emergency lane?
There is no emergency lane.
Okay,
but as we have said before, with the EMS, you have the police and ambulance and Air Force, they have met numerous times. And what they have done is to develop, for the first phase only, they have developed about 19 scenarios wherein if an accident should happen, everybody would know what the procedure to get to that point. Now,
understood.
You know, humanly we do the best we can, but things can happen otherwise. But they have done that.
Yeah, they have a plan, and that's
They
what's
have a plan.
important. And I wasn't sure. I know Council Member Oliver, our chair, she had alluded to a couple of things, and I was just wondering, like, you know, is there emergency lane? I wasn't sure, and especially when I seen that red color, the different colors on the chart, I was like, I wonder is that the emergency lane? But that's the new
No.
road, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the work area.
Yes,
Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Next, we have President Trippi Congo.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman Oliver. I want to thank you for readjusting your schedule and making this happen before the construction actually took place. I believe your meeting, this Public Works meeting, wasn't scheduled for a couple of weeks, but you moved it up so the community could be advised on what's going to happen this weekend. So I want to thank you for that. And I do want to thank Dot for the presentation. And Madam Chair, I heard where they said they'd be willing to come back quarterly. And when they come back, if you can ask them just to bring some numbers around, I appreciate the conversation about diversity and inclusion, but if they're able to bring us some numbers when they come back, just to give us an update of the local hiring and of diversity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Congo. Lastly, we have Councilwoman Fields.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mine is real small. This is for real short. This is for Mr. Percy. You spoke about the second contract coming for the lighting. Do you have a schedule for that?
Well, yes, that comes at the end of 2 years or probably even before that time.
What's that,
So,
2022, 2024?
The end of 2022, beginning of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
End of 2023.
So it comes
so
right
I'm
after the
on-
completion of the main project.
Okay, so I'm gonna be on your heels with that one. Okay.
That's okay.
Let me see. And that is it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and thank you for answering my questions. And CR, I'm waiting for my direct line to you, whoever else, you or Percy, it doesn't matter, but thank you for that.
You can't have CRs on.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you, Ms. Fields, Councilman Fields. So with that being said, I would like to thank Dot as CR and Percy said, both of their emails are on their website. So they just showed it. So if you go onto Dot's website, both of their emails on there. So if you want their direct information, go on the Dot, and I just saw their email. So go and email them and they can forward over their information. So it is public. But I'd like to thank you guys for coming on and taking the time to give us this information before the project started. I'd like to thank all the council members who are members of this Public Works and Transportation. And I think we had quite a few people here from Public Works, Mr. Lucas, Bryant Mitchell, and the commissioner. And I just would like to thank everybody. And as the president said, Mr. Congo, we will be inviting y'all back quarterly and keeping us updated because this is a big project. You're talking about 3 years, so you know it's going to be a lot of questions. So I do plan on sending all the council members your emails directly anyway. So I will forward that information over. I know y'all forwarded over to Mr. Walker, or Chief of Staff. So he said he'd be forwarding that information. I'm gonna just ask Daniel if he could just forward us all the information at the same time. And with that being said, I'm gonna let y'all go and thanks again because we have another.
Yes, but before you go, Madam
we have
Chair,
some other some city work to attend to. So thanks again.
Madam Chair, before you go, let me encourage you and the representatives here to always check on the website for this project, which is Restore the Corridor. And it's also important to use that, that email address that is there because we have folks who are delegated to answer questions and to respond to the public in a very efficient manner. So you may, I'm not trying to wiggle out of our CR getting information, but then we may have to go through somebody else, or we may not be available. So at the same time, if you're going to send us something, try and use the links on the Restore the Corridor, because I want to make certain that you are responded to in a quick and proficient manner.
Well, thanks. With that being said, even if you have another number, like we have a 311 number here that you can call for the city. So you may have an emergency number. If you could provide that to our chair, not the chair, I'm sorry, with Mr. Daniels, and he can send that out to us. So I know we may not always be in contact with y'all, but I'm glad you said that. If you have just a person emergency contact number, we can call different hours of the night. That would be good. And I see we have a member, Councilwoman Walsh is back on, her hand is up. Councilwoman Loretta, would you like to ask a question? I'm sorry, I know you had another meeting. Councilwoman Walsh? Are you on mute? Councilwoman?
I do not have a question, but I do believe a member of the public does.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't see that. We have a member from the public. Do you have a question? You can go ahead and ask it. Thank you.
Hi, Councilwoman Oliver. This is Brian Mitchell, Public Works.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Brian.
How are you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a real quick question. If CR is still there, is there a date certain for when the contra flow will be affected? Is it this week or is it March 1st? Basically, it's this. Is it imminent or is it almost imminent, a week and a half away?
Brian, can you repeat that, please? I didn't hear the whole question. I didn't hear the whole question.
Basically, just want to get an understanding of what date the contraflow is going to affect the ramps on 95. In other words, when will the ramp that goes northbound go southbound and drop off at MLK Boulevard and Justin Street? Just so we can get the word out of it. If it's this week, we're gonna beat the drum of it's happening right away. But we understood that it was March 1st. So I'm just looking to see if there's a date certain when that's going to happen, just so we're all aware.
You're correct. The contraflow does not happen this weekend. The work happening this weekend is solely focused on shifting the southbound 95 lanes over to the right and establishing that those new travel lanes. So no, there won't be any impact for contraflow yet this weekend. However, next weekend is when we'll see all that. We're actually going to hold an information meeting, a public information meeting next Wednesday evening, and we're going to share that out. We'll share that information with you all again to talk about next weekend's work as well, so everyone has a good understanding. Again, we know it's a lot, so we didn't want to just lump it all together. We thought we'd focus on this weekend first, and then we'll talk about that next week. But Brian, yes, certainly we will make sure that you and your shop knows so that you all can be prepared in the city for that as we know the date and time that will become in effect.
Excellent. Thanks, CR.
Brian, let me just add one thing here is that comes Monday morning, the south side will be reduced.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have, where you have 3 lanes on I-95 now, you're going to have 2 lanes on the south side, and where you have 2, you're going to have 1. So south side will be affected first, while next week on the north side, there will be no change whatsoever on the north side until the following weekend.
Thanks, Percy. I guess from that point of view, then there might be some impacts to folks getting into the city in terms of the reduction in lanes. Basically on the southbound side, we might see a little bit of an uptick in traffic congestion, because of the reductions and the congestion that might happen. So, but hopefully none of that happens. The traffic volumes with COVID have been down so low that, maybe it'll be fine.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
while I have you on here, could you, whatever the words you just used, could you explain what that means? Because when you just said, what you said, corridor, what did you just say? What did you, because that changed the whole narrative.
Yeah, it sounds like something from Ollie North and Contra guns for
Contraflow.
but it's contraflow. Basically, Zanthia, the first phase 1A, phase stage 1A requires that the northbound ramp will now become a southbound exit onto MLK Boulevard. So it's for the motor public, it's significant change in terms of what they'll see, and essentially, instead of getting on 95 at MLK, you'll going north, you'll be getting off 95 at MLK, because the northbound will be closed and the southbound will shift over to that location. So, in terms of significant impacts or significant notices, that's the thing that I think most people will notice. I can let Percy and CR address that, but essentially that's what it's going to be. There's going to be a change to the traffic flow on MLK, such that when you're going to get off 95 at MLK, and there'll be a sort of a switch over to the other lane at Justice Street. So Justice Street will look completely different in terms of the lane configurations come March 1st.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And sure. And when he said, I guess, CR, when you said 95, because he just said you said 95 is going to be closed, but it's going to be one lane open. So is it going to all be closed down? Or is it going to be one lane open?
So this weekend, Saturday and Sunday night, we will have overnight closures just to implement this new work. So
okay.
Those are temporary. That's temporary.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there any more questions from the public? Okay, I guess City Council. Okay, so we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for that presentation. And we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you.
Yes, and I've got my list. Percy and I, we've got our list, and we'll be sending some follow-up emails with the information that you all requested.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks again.
Bye.
Okay, next, we have for our Public Works and Transportation Committee on the agenda. Next, we have an ordinance, ordinance 21001. The city of Wilmington accepts the dedication for 4th Street at the Riverfront, naming of Judy Johnson Drive, South Madison Street, Shipyard Drive, and Frawley Drive. Who is here to speak in reference to this ordinance?
I am, Madam Chair.
And who is that?
My name is Tim Lucas from the Department of Planning and Development.
How you doing, Tim? You may begin. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair, committee and council members and members of the general public. Like I mentioned, my name is Tim Lucas. I'm a planner with the city's Department of Planning and Development. I'm here to present substitute number 1 to ordinance 21-001. I'll start by giving a brief background. On December 17th, 2019, the City Planning Commission approved Resolution 1619, which recommended that City Council dedicate and name 4 new and relocated streets planned and under development at the time by Delaware Department of Transportation. The 4 streets named and described in Resolution 1619 included South Madison Street, extended Shipyard Drive, partially relocated and extended, a new street segment proposed to be called Frawley Drive, and a second new street proposed at the time to be called Peterson Drive. Legislation was not introduced or approved by City Council at that time. Therefore, the streets remain undedicated and unnamed. Since that time, and after further discussion regarding the names, the Riverfront Development Corporation submitted a letter to the Commissioner of Public Works requesting that the name Judy Johnson Drive be considered as an alternative name to Peterson Drive. The City Planning Commission reviewed the name via Resolution Resolution 19-20, which was approved on October 20th, 2020, recommending that the name Judy Johnson Drive supersede the previously suggested name Peterson Drive, previously approved in December of 2019. All of the other recommendations in Planning Commission Resolution 1619 stand unchanged as originally stated. You'll find a map as Exhibit A to the ordinance showing the new streets in question. They're shown on the map, and I'll describe them as follows. South Madison Street, highlighted with black squares, has been extended to the southwest from its intersection with Beach Street to a new four-way intersection with the new Frawley Drive and relocated Shipyard Drive. South Madison Street will end at this intersection. Shipyard Drive, highlighted with a solid black line, will continue southwest from the aforementioned intersection of Frawley and South Madison. Frawley Drive, highlighted with inverted black triangles, is a new street segment running east-west from Judy Johnson Drive to Justison Street. The name derives from the adjacent Daniel S. Frawley Stadium, named after former city of Wilmington mayor. Last but not least, Judy Johnson Drive, formerly recommended to be called Peterson Drive, extends from its intersection with Beach Street under I-95 south through the Wilmington Riverfront area across the new Christina River Bridge to the new field house in South Wilmington, then south to the city-county boundary. The nearly 1.5-mile street is proposed to be named after William Julius Judy Johnson, the famous African-American baseball player who spent his youth as a Wilmington resident. In 1975, Judy Johnson became the 6th African-American to be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. All of the proposed street names were evaluated in both resolutions according to the 1992 City Planning Commission guidelines for the naming and renaming of streets. No issues were found, and the names were fully supported by the Department of Public Works. The City Fire Marshal's office had no objections. It should be noted that no property owners or postal addresses will be affected by these dedications or the naming of these streets. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do we, yes, I see we have Councilwoman Hardy's hand up, whose district this is in. Councilwoman Hardy, you make your hand speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first of all, thank you, Tim, for that summary. And I do want to mention that when this legislation was originally put together, as it was mentioned, it was recommended to be our former, I think Peterson was a governor?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And so when it was presented to me, I thought that when you think about the city of Wilmington and you think about this area, when you think about the history of the area over on the side of the 76ers, the field house, I noticed that we already had we already have a little statue at the riverfront with the former governor's name on it. We also have the former governor's name associated with the nature center. So I really thought that it would be a compliment to the city of Wilmington, especially since Judy Johnson's name is a part of the Dan Frawley Park. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's the
Right.
Judy Johnson Field.
Exactly. So since we're naming a street after our former mayor, Dan Frawley, I think that that was the appropriate thing to do instead of naming the street after our former governor Peterson, to name the street Judy Johnson Drive. So I do want to thank the Riverfront Development Corporation the mayor's office, the planning department, and all those that work together to make this happen. Because if you read the legislation, even though the street wasn't officially dedicated to be named as such, we are going to be naming it after Judy Johnson. And I guess my question is, since it was not formally named, is there a reason why it's stating in the legislation Russell Peterson? Is there a reason why it's in there that way, since it was never formally dedicated?
I believe it's because the City Planning Commission Resolution 1619 was never rescinded, and it stands as a resolution. So Resolution 1920 basically introduced a new name to be superseded. So City Council is welcome to consider either names, since they were both, read into the record. However, the latest and standing recommendation by City Planning Commission is Judy Johnson Drive.
So resolution 1619 that was never voted on, right? Is that correct?
It was approved it was a City Planning Commission resolution, and that was approved in December of 2019, so some time ago.
Oh, so it never came on the floor for council to vote on it?
Correct.
Okay, because I was going to say, I know that didn't happen, but nonetheless, everything worked out, and now we have it on this particular ordinance to change it from Peterson to Judy Johnson. And again, I want to thank everyone involved with working together to make this happen. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, Megan, and the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harley. Are there any questions from the public or first, is there any more questions from council members? I guess I'd like to make a comment. I just remember everyone working so hard on this project, and I'm glad that it's finally finalized. So good work, Councilman Harley, and everyone involved, especially Megan, the Riverfront, and the planning department. So is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? Okay, with that being said, I would like to accept a motion to move this out of committee for it to go for a vote for body on March the 4th.
So moved.
Second, anybody has a second? Second. Okay, so it has been moved in second, and this ordinance will be on the agenda for a vote from the full body on March the 4th. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight, and take care.
We need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. So like, everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone, any nays? Anyone not in favor? So the ayes have it. So this will be on the agenda for March the 4th. Thank you so much. So we do have a quorum here. That would be, I can call out that would be Linda, FieldBregetta, myself. So this will be on the agenda for the full body to vote for March the 4th. And thanks again, everybody. Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Oh, I so move.
Second. Second, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks a lot.